Appreciate it. She appreciates it.
I can't wait to see her in the little city dress.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely when it gets cooler though, because that's too heavy for her right now. So yeah, your mom was like, don't look at this. She was like, don't look at the sizes, because they're made different. All that. So yeah, that's all I know. You sure are happy this morning? We're gonna put it in the car. Yeah, you happy?
I'm tired. It's okay. What are you doing, Daddy? Daddy, what are you doing? Daddy, what are you doing?
Measuring.
Why?
I'm doing Sunday school. I'm going to try to figure out how to feel like home. Let's all stand, please. Get your church hymn on 199. 199. Going to heaven, amen. For soul never dies. 199.
you hear, amen. Get to be in the house of the Lord on Sunday morning. Let's go to the Lord in prayer and ask His blessings on the Sunday school hour, amen. Brother Andy, would you pray for us, brother?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the ability to come to your house today, Lord, to praise and worship your name, to hear from your word, Lord. I ask that you help the teachers and the listeners, the students this morning, Lord, that we'll be focused on you, to give you praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, you can be dismissed to the Sunday school class. Amen. Let's take up some prayer requests for our Sunday school class. Anybody have a prayer request? Ms. Short?
After John Heyman, Betty had to take him to the emergency room. His heart was bothering him, so I had to her from the day.
Anybody else?
Remember to pray for Maya.
You heard from her later?
Last I heard, she was with her daddy and she's in school.
That's good. That's good. Kelly?
Children, grandchildren for salvation. Today's my granddaughter's birthday. She's 19.
Wow.
The Lord. And the people that's in North Carolina, South Carolina. And pray.
Anybody else?
I have some unspoken and pray that the police can find the people that's doing all the breaking in around my house.
Who's having issues up there?
Got the church across the street's been broke into 3 times in the last couple of weeks.
What?
Street over Cooks Lake, a house got broke into, and then down on Golden Mott, the Jehovah's Witness place, and then the assisted living place, just in the past few weeks.
Pray about that, amen.
Our neighborhood watch is pretty good out there.
They watching them go.
And they just got to catch them, because they've got the license plates and everything, and the kind of car, I know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Up there on Oakley Estates, but just can't actually enact, I guess.
Thieves tend to watch, they know what's going on. But sooner or later, by the nature of the whole thing, they make a mistake. So thieves are not usually the smartest people in the world.
Those people started sleeping in that church across the corner, and that's what they're doing.
They ain't careful, they're gonna get shot. Anyway. Right for that. Anybody else?
Pray for my friend, Taylor. I don't know if he's saved or not.
Anybody else? Well, amen, Brother Dennis is gonna teach Sunday school today.
Amen. Amen.
On the 10th day.
On that 10th day, amen. Appreciate Brother Dennis, he's a faithful man, amen. Yeah.
My brother Darren said when he started preaching, he said, as a preacher told him, so maybe you just teach Sunday school. So if this don't work out, maybe y'all let me keep, some lead sermons, right? This is a different position, you understand?
Yep.
So I'm leaving, I'm kinda comfortable with that, this is different. Maybe it'll be a blessing to you guys. All right, I wanna, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, we'll start there. Verses 6 through 8. Talking about Israel, primarily the Levites is what I'm gonna talk about. Maybe y'all learn something you didn't know, or bring something back to the memory stuff that you knew before you kind of forgot. Deuteronomy 7, verse 6. says, For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. This is kind of where I want to start to talk about the Levites. This verse here is talking about just God choosing the nation of Israel. So now go to Numbers, backwards. Numbers chapter 1. Numbers 1:44 to the end of the chapter. These are those that were numbered, which Moses and Aaron numbered, and the princes of Israel, being 12 men, each one was for the house of his fathers. So were all those that were numbered of the children of Israel by the house of their fathers, from 20 years old and upward, all that were able to go forth to war in Israel. Even all they that were numbered were 600,000 and 3,550. But the Levites, after the tribe of their fathers, were not numbered among them. For the Lord had spoken unto Moses, saying, Only thou shalt not number the tribe of Levi, neither take the sum of them among the children of Israel. But thou shalt appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of testimony, and over all the vessels thereof, and over all things that belong to it. They shall bear the tabernacle and all the vessels thereof, and they shall minister unto it, and shall encamp round about the tabernacle. And when the tabernacle setteth forward, the Levites shall take it down. And when the tabernacle is to be pitched, the Levites shall set it up, and the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. And the children of Israel shall pitch their tents, every man by his own camp, and every man by his own standard throughout their host. But the Levites shall pitch round about the tabernacle of testimony, that there be no wrath upon the congregation of the children of Israel, and the Levites shall keep the charge of the tabernacle of testimony. And the children of Israel did according to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so did they. So we're talking about the Levites, and this is the Lord separated them from the other tribes, and they're special to him to take care of the tabernacle and the things of that nature. Numbers chapter 8. Numbers 8, 13 and 14. And thou shalt set the Levites before Aaron and before his sons, and offer them for an offering unto the Lord. Thus shalt thou separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. So, we get started with this. When you're reading that, some people may think, I thought that all the Levites, the whole tribe, they were all priests. But that's not so. All the Levites were not priests. But only the Levites could be priests. That's who God separated. That's who He's going to use. So the sons of Levi were the Levites. Let's go to Exodus 6:16. Exodus 6, verse 16. So these are the names of the sons of Levi, according to their generations: Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were 137 years. So the Levites were set up according to the sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Those were the three fathers that each of the tribes came from, that each of the different descendants, the three men's descendants, had specific responsibilities. So I was looking at the tabernacle, the sizes, and I kind of looked it up. And the tabernacle itself was 150 feet by 75 feet, which is really big. This building this way is 70 feet. So it's twice as long. The tabernacle, the outside where the fence was set up, the coverings. And it was 7.5 feet tall. So I mean, it was huge. It was really big. I remember we used to have the tent meetings, out on the streets or wherever we'd set them up. And that tent was, I'm thinking, 20 by 40, no, 40 by 60, I think, it was that big. So in comparison, the tabernacle that they set up was 3 times bigger than what we used to set up. And so you've got all those coverings, y'all know the Bible about the coverings of ram skins and all the different skins tied together, and they colored them and all of that. So all that, y'all remember when we set the tent up, how heavy, when you try to roll that, when it was rolled up and you try to roll it out, how big and how heavy it was, how they transported that through the wilderness. And it was 2 to 3 times bigger than what one we used to set up. Y'all know how big that one was we tried to set up, so we're talking massive, a lot of. And I was thinking, well, how in the world did they just put it up on their shoulders and carry it? But the Bible, if you read the Bible, you find out that they didn't do that. We'll kind of get into that. Okay, so 150 by 75 was how big it is. This stage is 30 feet across. I kind of measured it before service. So it was 45. It was 15 more feet wider. Okay, the tabernacle, the perimeter of it, where the fence was. The tabernacle itself, the building where the holy place was, or the Holy of Holies, was 30 by 15. That's the size of this stage. When the priest went in, that's all the space he had. That was the holy place. That wasn't even the Holy of Holies. That was it. With the candlestick, the table of showbread, the what's another piece of furniture that was in the tabernacle?
Basin.
The what?
Basin.
The laver was outside the tabernacle.
Oh.
It was outside the holy place. Anyways, there were 7 pieces. I should have looked at that when I did. Anyways, that's how big the holy place was. That's it. 15 by 30. Now the Holy of Holies was half that distance. That's how big the Holy of Holies was. And all it had in it was the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat. Half that distance, that's how big the Holy of Holies was. The holy place, the part with all the 7 pieces of, or the 6 pieces of furniture, was in that space there. Give you some idea when you're thinking. That's how it wasn't that big. But the perimeter of it was really big, right? And basically I'm saying all that to say that there was the curtains that covered everything on the outside that is a huge amount of weight, huge amount of things that the Levites had to take care of. And then, well, let's just get back to here. Okay, so each of those 3 men, we talked about Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. They were the 3 sons of Levi. And those sons' descendants were the ones that took care of the tabernacle. Let's look at the Gershonites first. The Gershonites took care of the coverings and the fabrics, or the woven material, the tent, the dyes, the animal skins. They took care of all the woven stuff that was made. Okay, that's in Numbers 4:24. Through 28. This is the service of the families of the Gershonites to serve and for burdens. And they shall bear the curtains of the tabernacle, and the tabernacle of the congregation, his covering, and the coverings of the badger skins that is above upon it, and the hanging for the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the hangings of the court, and the hangings for the door gate of the court, which is by the tabernacle and by the altar round about, and their cords, and all the instruments of their service, and all that is made for them, so shall they serve. At the appointment of Aaron and his sons shall be all the service of the sons of the Gershonites in all their burdens, and in all their service, and ye shall appoint unto them in charge all their burdens. This is the service of the family of the sons of Gershon in the tabernacle of the congregation, and their charge shall be under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron the priest. Okay, so the Gershonites, they took care of all the coverings, the outside the coverings that hid everything, all the walls basically. So the Gershonites took care of that. They took care of all the weight, all the heavy stuff. I mean, the framework, we'll get to it, and it was heavy too, but you think about the coverings. Right. You're talking about a lot of weight. That was a lot of weight. All right. So let's look at the Merarites. They were responsible for the tabernacle structure, or the wooden pieces, the fence, the framework. So you got the woven part, and you got the wooden part. So the Merarites, they took care of the tabernacle structure. That's in Numbers 3:35 through 37, back a page. Numbers 3:35. And the chief of the father of the families of Merari was Zuriel, the son of Abihail. These shall pitch on the side of the tabernacle northward. And under the custody and charge of the sons of Merari shall be the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars thereof, and the pillars thereof, and the sockets thereof, and all the vessels thereof, and all that serveth thereto, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords. And then over chapter 4, we go back, chapter 4, verse 31 to 35. And this is the charge of their burden, according to all their service in the tabernacle of the congregation, the boards of the tabernacle, and the bars thereof, and the pillars thereof, and the sockets thereof, and the pillars of the court round about, and their sockets, and their pins, and their cords, with all their instruments, and with all their service. And by name ye shall reckon the instruments of the charge of their burden. This is the service of the families of the sons of Merari, according to all their service in the tabernacle of the congregation, under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. And Moses and Aaron and the chief of the congregation numbered the sons of the Kohathites. Okay, we'll get to the Kohathites. I went too far. I'll pull the brother down. We'll stop there. At 33. So all this was under the hand of Ithamar, the son of Aaron, the priest. So Aaron and his sons were basically in charge to tell the other Levites what they needed to do and appoint their service and all that. So Gershon, he had the coverings, he had all the hiding that hid everything. The Merarites, they took care of all the framework, and they carried all that. So now we'll look at the Kohathites. The Kohathites, so you got the Gershonites, the Merarites, and the Kohathites. They were divided. You had Aaron and his sons. They had the sacrifices and duties inside the tabernacle. They did the offerings. They were the only ones that did that. Was Aaron and his sons, and it went down with all his sons taking care of all that, the duties of the priest doing the offerings. Aaron and his sons did that. The other Kohathites, there was kind of a split. The other Kohathites, they bore the burden of all the sacred items. The Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the candlestick. They took care of all that. Okay, so the Kohathites were divided. Aaron and his sons took care of the duties of the sacrifices. The other part of the Kohathites, they took care of the burdens of carrying all that stuff. So Exodus 28. This is Exodus.
Isn't a badger skin what they call a seal skin now?
I'm sorry, can you?
Isn't a badger skin what they call a seal skin now?
It just says badger skins in the Bible, and that's kind of what I go with.
They interpret it as seal skin.
So Exodus 28, verse 1 says, And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. So Aaron and his sons were the priests that took care of the offerings and all of that. 1 Chronicles 23:13. It says, The sons of Amram, Aaron and Moses, and Aaron was separated that he should sanctify the most holy things, he and his sons forever, to burn incense before the Lord, to minister unto him, and to bless in his name forever. I'm just establishing the fact that Aaron and his sons were the priests that took care of all that. Back to Leviticus 8. Leviticus. Leviticus 8, 10 through 14. And Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was therein, and sanctified them. And he sprinkled thereof upon the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all his vessels, both the laver and his foot, to sanctify them. And he poured of the anointing oil upon Aaron's head, and anointed him to sanctify him. And Moses brought Aaron's sons, and put coats upon them, and girded them with girdles, and put bonnets upon them, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he brought the bullock for the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands upon the head of the bullock for the sin offering. So we're just establishing that Aaron was, and his sons were the priests that took care of all that. Okay, so you got Merari, the Kohathites, and the Gershonites. That's your three. Now, this is kind of where I'm going with as far as them having the weight of all the stuff that they had to carry, a lot of weight, hundreds of, probably thousands of pounds, I'm sure. Numbers chapter 7. So they didn't have to carry all of this on their backs. Now the Kohathites that carried the articles inside the holy place and all that, they did hand carry those. Those were the sacred items. They would take and cover them before they took the tent down. They'd be covered. They'd have to carry them on staves. That's how they carried that. But all the other, everything else that went with that. Numbers 7, start verse 1. And it came to pass on the day that Moses had fully set up the tabernacle, and had anointed it, and sanctified it, and all the instruments thereof, both the altar and all the vessels thereof, and had anointed them, and sanctified them, that the princes of Israel, heads of the house of their fathers, who were the princes of the tribes, and were over them that were numbered, offered. And they brought their offering before the Lord, 6 covered wagons, and 12 oxen, a wagon for 2 of the princes, and for each one an ox. And they brought them before the tabernacle. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Take it of them, that they may be to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and thou shalt give them unto the Levites, every man according to his service. And Moses took the wagons and the oxen, and gave them unto the Levites. 2 wagons and 4 oxen he gave unto the sons of Gershon according to their service. And 4 wagons and 8 oxen he gave unto the sons of Merari according unto their service, under the hand of Ithamar the son of Aaron the priest. But unto the sons of Korah he gave none, because the service of the sanctuary belongeth unto them, that they should bear them upon their shoulders. They should bear upon their shoulders. Okay, so that's kind of, maybe you didn't know that when they took the coverings down for the tabernacle, they had wagons they could put that stuff on, so they didn't have to hand carry it. I thought that was kind of interesting that God would take care of them and give them a wagon.
Yep.
Amen.
Amen.
Sometimes you may have a heavy load you think you're going to have to carry. Maybe the Lord will give you a wagon. Good stuff and carry that. Amen. The application for us, John chapter 15. John. John 15, verse 16. Now God chose the nation of Israel to be His people. They were special people. They weren't large in number. They weren't all that great and mighty, but He loved them and chose them. Now this is Jesus talking to His disciples, and I believe speaking to us. He said, Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you that you should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever you shall ask of the Father in my name, He may give it you. 1 Peter 2. First Peter 2, 1 through 9. Wherefore, laying aside all malice, and all guile, and hypocrisies, and envies, and all evil speakings, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. If so be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of God and precious. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, and holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. Wherefore also it is contained in the Scripture, Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe, he is precious. But unto them which be disobedient, the stones which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So he's calling us the priesthood. He's talking to the church. He's saying that we're all that, and that everything that talks about in the Old Testament about the tabernacle, we can apply that to our lives. We should let the Lord be our candlestick, let the Lord be our showbread. We can go straight to the Holy of Holies and speak to the Lord God Almighty. Amen.
Amen.
And He'll talk to us. Luke 10:25. This is the conclusion of my whole point here. Us being priests, us being what God wants us to do. This is where we need to be. This is what we need. And behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in the law? How readest thou? And he answering said, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. And he said unto him, Thou hast answered right, this do, and thou shalt live. And then it goes into the story of the Good Samaritan. But that's, if we'll love the Lord with all of our heart, with everything we got, then we won't have to worry about, thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not bear false witness. If we're loving the Lord, doing what we can, then a lot of those things we really won't have to worry about. And it's going to be there now and again, but you can really, if you're loving the Lord, doing all you can for Him, a lot of that stuff can fall to the side. And love your neighbor as yourself. If you'll do that, then I think the Lord can use us. And we can be priests, a royal priesthood for Him. Right?
Amen.
But a big thought that really come out to me was the wagons. That whatever you're carrying, the Lord can help you. He gives you a wagon, you put stuff in. Won't be so hard on it. Just a little early, but that's what I got. Thank you.
I've never thought of it that way. I used to hear about Brother Don Green's message on the holier, the harder. And he would talk about Coathites and how they would have to bear the burdens on their shoulders. And but I've never thought about the Gershonites. They got a wagon.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, if I'm one of the Coathites and I'm over there toting and stuff, and you see Merari and them dudes over there, and Gershon, and man, I wished I had a wagon. But my God, that's a good thought, amen. I appreciate how the Lord ties all that into the Bible is amazing. If you'll read that book and study it, it is amazing how all this stuff goes together. And I hope that you'll take some time to study for yourself. Me and Brother Tenney were talking, and what he said was true. We were talking about studying the Bible, and he said, you know, most people don't study the Bible unless they're preparing to teach a class. And I thought about that, and I said, you know, that's right. You know, we ought to study, even if we're not trying to study. Do what now?
I said, you teach class every time you talk about God.
Sure. So we need to be students of the Bible. Amen. Your reference to sealskin that you had mentioned, I've read that. I don't know how true that is. I have read it. You know, I was studying that one time, a long time ago. I've never taught on it, because I really don't know what all it was. But
I was thinking maybe it made it waterproof or.
I understand that, and that's probably where they're coming from with that. But you have to understand they were, and I got to looking in the land of Israel and the land of Egypt where they were coming out of, and in the wilderness where they were. There were badgers, literally what we would think of as a badger there. And so I wasn't convinced that it was a sealskin, and I got to thinking about, well, where'd they get all that stuff? I mean, when he's talking about the weight, you're talking about probably hundreds, if not thousands, of these badger skins. And but you got to remember as well, they spoiled the Egyptians when they left there. They got a lot of their stuff. They went over and borrowed all of it, and then they left. Amen. He said, well, that wasn't right. Well, what the Egyptians had been doing for 400 years wasn't right either, was it?
Amen.
And the Lord kind of paid them back for it. Amen. But, so I'm not sure if it would be a sealskin or, but I tend to be a literalist. It said badger, I believe badger. Amen. What I think is a badger. So just something to think about there. Pray for the meeting in Scotland coming up. That's just a few weeks away now. Pray that the Lord would have His way in that. I need to make a correction. I don't know I guess I need to wait until everybody gets in, or maybe I'll mention it again. I mentioned preaching Wednesday night, or teaching, whatever that was called. It was a mess at the end because I couldn't get all my verses right. And I study a lot of times with my computer because it's so much faster. I can go to this verse in this chapter in the book, and I can go to this one, man, just in a click, and I can do this, man, I'm all over the place. And sometimes I lose something in the translation from there to my notes. But I mentioned the verse, labor not to be rich, and I said it was in Proverbs chapter 16 as well. I was reading it again the next day, and I was like, man, I messed that up too, amen. But it was, it's on later, I think chapter 23 or 24, someone down there, but it does mention the word laboreth in the chapter 16. That's probably where all that was coming from. But yeah, I needed to correct that while I was thinking about it. All right, let's take up Sunday school offering. We'll be back to service in about 20 minutes or so, and continue. Amen. All right, we'll be dismissed.
Good thoughts about it, did it?